We're in beautiful Singer Island, Florida, and this is the Hilton Hotel. It's right on the beach. Great divers hotel. Hey, this is Rick Bone with Underwater Explorer. We've got some good diving today. Plus, I'm going to tell you about an organization that grants dreams for children that have life-threatening illness. Stay tuned. This Singer Island is one of the most beautiful beaches in Florida, and conditions are perfect. We're on our first dive in about 60 feet of water, and this is probably a quarter of a mile off of Palm Beach and Singer Island. Beautiful queen angelfish. And conditions were semi-perfect today. The visibility is a little off. It's about 30 to 35 feet. These are some of the soft corals on the reef. And there's a little current, I'd say about a 1.5 to 2 knot current, and it is drift diving. It's one of my favorite kinds of diving. There's no effort you put into it. And that'll show you some of the current because his fins aren't big enough to even hardly propel him. The relief from the reef comes up about 8 to 10 feet. And you want to swim right next to the rise of the reef where most of the fish are. And they go in and out of little crevices. Some of these look like caves, but they just go back about 4 or 5 feet. And occasionally you'll see a nurse shark under this ledge. And they're quite prevalent on Palm Beach. And they're virtually harmless unless you touch them or try to mess with them. And these are just general reef fish, what you see on every dive. These schools are some of the most plentiful in the U.S. I've been to other parts of the Caribbean and I have never seen more fish than right off Palm Beach, Florida. The water temperature is about 75 degrees, and that's very standable. And I've never known the water temperature to get below probably 70 degrees, but that will require a wetsuit. This huge grouper was inside of a wreck. He must have been 350 pounds, about 5 feet long. And this is inside one of the wrecks that we dove that day. That looks like kind of an Atlantis remains going through the corridor of this wreck. There are 4 wrecks lined up in a row, each within about 50 to 100 yards of each other. And you'll see turtles on usually about every dive. And they're very friendly and like to follow us throughout the dive. This little guy was trying to get some rest. And these light-colored fish like to hang over the sand and almost be invisible to their enemies. Beautiful soft corals. That's called a tube sponge. Now we have a diver going into one of the wrecks. And all of the wrecks have been cleaned and all the oil taken out before they're even sunk. All the hatch covers have been taken off. And there's a huge grouper right in the middle of your screen trying to back up in there. But we found him anyway. This is part of a big barge wreck that went down, and that diver's holding on kind of for dear life because the current at this point is kicked up to about 3 knots. And the ocean itself in the background you can see is probably 2 to 4 feet, which is about the limit of diving. If you get to 5 or 6 feet, everybody on the boat gets sick. It's just no fun at all, so be sure and check the ocean before you go down. And this is coming back, and we have to have a freshwater stop at Jenny Springs, one of my favorite springs in the world. It's cleaner than the water we drink, and the visibility is over 300 feet underwater, as you can see. The best time to visit Jenny is during the weekday. During the weekends, it's just extremely crowded, especially during the summer months. And that's looking into the cave system. Now we're back home at the place of our boat at Louisville Landing Marine in Knoxville, Tennessee. And this is about halfway between downtown Knoxville and the dam. It's about 25 miles from downtown Knoxville, and the other way, 25 miles from the dam. And these are some of the dock girls. You can find just about anything you want to at Louisville Landing Marine. Got a great restaurant. Now we're back down for another dive, and this time we're in about 65 feet of water. And I'd also like to show you and tell you about an organization that grants dreams for children with life-threatening illness.
Hi, this is Ingrid G. broadcasting to you live from the Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthy Living Expo. We are here among a wealth of fine businesses that have been brought here together to help promote a healthy lifestyle. From fitness centers to belly dancers to blood drives, they're all here, and we are happy that Karen Ray has brought us to this facility. We have in our studio one of the fine businesses that we're promoting here today. We have the Youth Development Fund. We have Rick Bowen, who is the founder of the Youth Development Fund. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Ingrid.
I have in my hand here, Rick, a letter that is something that you have sent out to families, to doctors, to people in the community to know about what you have to offer.
Right.
The Youth Development Fund is a nonprofit organization that is devoted to
programs and services for children. And one of our leading programs is called A Child's Dream, whereby we grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses. We also promote health and fitness and also sponsor educational television shows.
Well, this letter to me kind of pulls at your heartstrings. It says, "My dear and caring friend," and this is written by you, the president, "I'm happy this letter has made it to your hands. What do you wish for?" And this is, we're talking about the part of the Youth Development Fund, A Child's Dream, a bright sunny sky, more time to accomplish your goals, to lead a healthy and fruitful life. But the neat thing about this is that A Child's Dream is about granting a child's wish that may not see tomorrow.
Exactly.
It is, they have a life-threatening illness, and they will send to you requests to help you fund their final dream.
Right, and that dream is up to the child and each individual child. And we don't advertise at all. It's all by word of mouth. And right now we've got about 250 families on a waiting list. And it's been our most successful program. We've helped, I think, 454 families over the past 10 years at a cost of a little over $1,100,000. And since our history, programs and services for children are about $12 million.
So $12 million total since the Youth Development Fund was founded in 1983 that has been given out to services for children, programs for children. And, you know, one of the things that someone might ask you, Rick, is what made you want to do this? What made you decide to start this?
Well, I had a lot of charities come up to me in 1981 and 82 when I was in business, and they were always asking for money. I never knew where the money was going to go, and I wanted to put a little more personal touch into it and actually help families one-on-one and see, you know, how we could help them.
And this is something that, knowing that a child is getting ready to die, knowing that you and your foundation and all the people that help to work with you can help to make their final dream come true. That is something, it's why I'm passionate about helping you spread your message here live on Web TV. And I hope that the listeners that we have and the viewers that we have, you get some information from this that maybe creates you to do something, to maybe give to this foundation. I want to ask you a little bit about your your background. Now, before you did the Youth Development Fund, you were involved in the recording industry.
Right, I had a company called Gemini Records, and we did that for probably 9 or 10 years. And then this opportunity came to me, and I thought, well, if I can do this and back out of business and get into this full time, I'll do that. So that's what we tried to do.
And it takes a lot of money to keep this going. Like as you said, there was over $1 million that has been given to A Child's Dream.
Right.
Over 450 families that have been provided a final wish,
right.
A dream. But one of the fundraisers that you did that you very well known for was something that was called Shake the Sugar Bowl.
Right, that was our probably most successful fundraiser since our inception. We did that in 1985 when the University of Tennessee went to the Sugar Bowl, and they hadn't been for some 20 years. And we put that together with some musicians that volunteered their time. Much of the studio time was donated to us, and it raised about $35,000 for us.
So, and you went to over 50 different radio stations, record stations, and they played your song, Shake the Sugar Bowl.
Right, and it's funny because the athletic director at the time was Doug Dickey, and he called me one night and he said, "Don't play that song ever again." And he laughed, and I said, "Doug, what's the deal?" And he said, "I've had to call 300 radio stations across the state of Tennessee and tell them not to play that song because it violates NCAA regulations." And we came to find out you can't mention a player's name, even though we just said the first name, like Go Johnny Go. That was against the rules. So he laughed and he said, "Now I've done my job, so you just go ahead and do yours."
Still played and still was in the top selling.
Right. As a matter of fact, a DJ from WIVK told me that we reached #1 for 2 days and beat out Michael Jackson. So we had a 2-day hit.
That's pretty good, and it all went to help the Youth Development Fund. And being in the entertainment, the production industry, prior to doing this, you've had an opportunity to meet some characters, some people who are involved in the industry. And one fine gentleman that has been very involved in the Youth Development Fund is Marshall Andy.
Right.
And we're actually privileged to have him here as well today. Welcome to our interview. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Ingrid. Glad to be here.
Tell me a little bit about why you decided to get involved with this nonprofit.
Well, about 15 years ago, Rick asked me to help him at the board level, and I looked into it and I saw what was happening over that time. He's raised, as he's pointed out, a lot of money. Unfortunately, the cost of doing business, the way that we were doing it at that time, and we still are, a lot of the money, just of course, wasn't going to benefit as much of it as we wanted to, that it was the cost of actually doing telemarketing and so forth. And Rick has been constantly working to find a new way that we can control more of the money that will go to help them. Since that inception, I've become more interested in it, and I am ready and willing to help him do whatever he can, because he is trying so hard to get enough money to help these people grant these wishes that they've been bringing to him. You just heard him say how many he had on the waiting list of people that want to be helped.
Yes, I think it was to the tune of over 250 families are on the waiting list to have their child's dream fulfilled.
Right. If through this effort here, right here, through the internet, if we can do this and we can get people to respond, much more of this money will go directly to them, and that's what we're both interested in.
Yes, because what will happen is if someone is interested, you can go to youthdevelopmentfund.org. That's youthdevelopmentfund.org, and you can give money. Anything is appreciated that would help to change a child's life. And basically, to recap what A Child's Dream is and what you do with the funds is there are children that will not grow up to have a normal life and will maybe not even know what tomorrow is. So this money is used to grant their wishes.
Exactly, and we've been told that when we first started this, you better act very quickly because 1/3 of these children pass away after 1 year. So the need for funds is always there. I had a dream the other night. I thought there might be somebody out there worth $300 or $400 million that might send in $20 million, so we never ever have to ask for money again, and we never have any fundraising expenses again. But that's the hardest part of this job is a mother calls up and I have to say, "We're out of funds, please call back in 6 months." And So we hope to be able to get enough funding in that we can go continuously and not have a waiting list.
Well, I want to ask Marshall Andy, there is one story in particular. There's a lot of different stories. There's a lot of children that are getting help, and we'll get more into what those are. But there's one story about a young boy who wanted a ticket.
Right, a one-way ticket.
A one-way ticket, that's
Not
right.
many people will come to Rick and ask for a one-way ticket anywhere. Because
How old
everybody
was
wants to
this
come
boy?
in. I'm not sure. What was his
He
age?
was 16 years old.
16 years old. And he was from Hawaii, is my understanding. And he wanted to be buried. He knew he was not going to make it. He wanted to be buried in Hawaii. That's why he asked for the one-way ticket. And Rick was able to provide that for him. And I'll let him tell the rest of the story.
Well, he was so grateful and positive about the whole endeavor that we did fly him over there, and 2 weeks later he passed away and they buried him on a mountain, so he got his dream.
So if the Youth Development Fund had not been there, then he wouldn't have got his last wish.
Probably not.
And this gave him the opportunity because his family, relatives did not have the money to send him over there.
Right, exactly. And I also might add that we don't ever advertise, and we've never had to. It's all by word of mouth. Say somebody will come to a treatment center or, for example, a Ronald McDonald House, and they see another family that has a sick child, and they would say, well, why don't you contact Youth Development Fund? Maybe they can possibly help you. So that's our really only means of contacting.
And there's other stories as far as other children that have been granted a dream. There's many different things that there's an application that they have to fill out. But sending a child who's never had the opportunity to go to like a Disneyland or Disney World.
Right, 70% of our dreams are wanting to go to Disney World. We so far sent 94 families to Disney World over the years at a cost of a little more than $350,000. So as I say, that is our number one requested dream. The second is computers and shopping sprees and clothes.
And you know, so often families and children who have a healthy life, who don't have a terminal illness, take for granted the things that we've been given. And just being able to go to Disney World or some of the other things that someone's asked for, like I saw on some of your applications, one person just wanted to go see their aunt.
Right,
they
exactly.
wanted to see their aunt. And what are some of the other types of things that when you receive these applications you see these children wanting?
Well, as I said, besides Disney trips, computers and shopping sprees are the most positive and the most popular. We had a little girl who requested that she wanted to go on a shopping spree, and we sent her on one for $2,000. And she had an eye illness and a brain illness, and she never would want to go to the prom. And her mother called about 6 months later, said she's so overjoyed at this shopping spree. She wants to go to the prom, and we don't have a gown that she can wear. And I said, well, she does now. So we got her a gown to go to her school function.
And there's nothing like it. You know, I'm a lady and I was a girl once, and there's nothing like when you go to your school dance and you have the opportunity to put on a dress that you feel good in.
Right.
And to go out there and socialize and be with your friends. And this is something that they're not just asking for because of its monetary. It's because this may be the last chance they have to go out and experience life. And that's why, you know, I am passionate about broadcasting your message, because there's probably a lot of people who don't know about the Youth Development Fund. They don't understand what it does. They don't know that you, as the president, you're active in it. You care where the money goes. You ensure that it's going towards the children, their families. And Marshall Andy has been so kind to be a part of this, believes in what you do. And you are out on a daily basis doing things, promoting yourself, but at the same time helping to promote good causes like this.
Well, I try to. In Knoxville, in this area, of course, in Tennessee where we live, they've been real good to me. And things have gone well, and I've always tried to give back, but I especially like working with youth and with the children. And there's so many things that I do, my own school shows that I have, that I do personally, my television show that I do personally, that deal with children. But there was something about Rick Bowen's effort dealing with the last request. Now, when I'm dealing with these bright, beautiful little children now in the schools, and they're healthy and they're fine, and they have parents that have plenty to give to them. In love and in wealth and everything. And they are healthy. They've got their whole life ahead of them. But then, when I stop and I think that this child just asked for one simple thing and knows it's the last, That's what really made me want to help Rick more.
Yes, giving to a child in need like that is always something that makes your heart feel good, and you know you're making a difference. And also, congratulations on the 454 families that have been granted a dream. The $1,139,623, give or take a few change there, has been granted to these children, to this fund, given to them actual money that has gone out to services for these children. And since 1983, the total program, the total services that has money that's been given out since this development fund, this nonprofit has been started, is how much?
It's $12,100,000, a little bit over that so far.
So that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of good that's happening.
The thing that I take from this is that if we had plenty of time to raise the money to fulfill everybody's dream, then we would work at it from that standpoint. But there's such a long waiting list right now. Many of these children will never, ever see this fulfilled. That's why we need help as quickly as possible.
So if the Youth Development Fund was to get more money in, then these dreams could be granted faster.
We would just dwindle that list down as much as the money would allow us to.
And there is some local charities here in town that you support, Rick, that you've given to recently.
Right. Last week we gave Ronald McDonald House a $5,000 grant. We also gave $5,000 to Big Brother, Big Sister. And tomorrow afternoon, hopefully, we're going to give $5,000 to Children's Hospital for their telethon. Very
nice to see you giving back here to the local community. And I have to ask you a question here that I wanted to ask. A lot of these children, they probably have role models, they have celebrities that they like. Is there any celebrity requests that you've been able to fulfill?
We've been able to fill 2 so far, and they're very difficult to get to. Most celebrities have a wall of people between you and them. But Jeff Gordon, the race car driver, spent a little over a couple hours with one of our kids, and he's just been great. And also Dolly Parton was with one of our kids and had her up to her show. And she's been very kind to us.
And what is the biggest challenge that you think comes with running this nonprofit?
The biggest challenge by far is having someone that needs help and you don't have the money to do it, and to just say, well, I'm sorry, but call back in 6 months. And that's probably the hardest part of this job. To
know that you're turning someone away that isn't going to be there maybe tomorrow.
Exactly, and if we just had the money to do it, we could do it that day.
And the process, as far as if there is someone who's watching and you have a child, how are they going to get in touch with you? What's the steps?
The best way is to go to our website. It's youthdevelopmentfund.org, and just ask if we're accepting grants or accepting applications at this point. And most times we are, but when we're out of funding, we just simply email you back and say, no, we don't have the funds, check back in 6 months. That's the easiest way to do it, and we send out a 4-page application, and one of those pages, the doctor of the child has to sign off, and he has to sign that, yes, the child has this illness, and how soon we should grant the wish. It's either 3 months, 6 months, or ASAP, as soon as possible.
So it is, you go to youthdevelopmentfund.org, that's youthdevelopmentfund.org. You can get more information about it. You can fill in an application, you can send it in, and if you are someone who's watching and you like to give to this foundation, you can also go to the youthdevelopmentfund.org. Well, this has been wonderful interviewing you today here at the Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthy Living Expo, and I appreciate you being here.
Well, Ingrid, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
And Marshall Andy, thank you for being here as
Glad
well.
to be here.
Well, thanks for tuning in to us today here as we broadcast live from the Healthy Living Expo and all of the fine businesses that are here. Here at our Cherries for Life, we're always about improving someone's life, and we hope that today that you got more information about some of the fine businesses and maybe even get involved and give to a good cause and make a difference. And don't forget, a little bit does count. So you have a wonderful day, and thanks for tuning in today.
So now you've got some information about the Youth Development Fund. It's back to diving. Again, we're offshore in Palm Beach, Florida, right off Singer Island. And this is Breakers Reef. It's about 60 feet deep. The currents today are moderate, and we're swimming north on the reef. Little puffer fish, and that's a little eel. They normally don't come out of their lair like that, so he must be after some fish. That's a sheep's head. And these are general reef fish that you see on every dive. And today the visibility is very good. It's probably 40 to 50 feet. That's a brain coral. And these turtles you see really quite plentiful on the Palm Beach reefs. They have periodic studies of them, which you're going to see here in just a little bit. But otherwise, the general public cannot touch or harass a turtle in any way. And that's an angelfish. That's called a French angelfish. And this turtle is back under this lodge trying to get some rest. It used to be that people were finding turtles underwater, they'd like to ride them, but that's now a $10,000 fine. The false eye on the rear confuses their enemies. And now we're going into a little crevice loaded with fish. That's called a squirrel fish. And these green and yellows are seen almost every dive. Beautiful soft coral. And you can see the current today is just really gentle. Now we're in a place called Shark Canyon, and this is in about 80 to 90 feet of water, and it's a little north of Palm Beach. And what divers used to do before it became law is they would take down bait and give to these sharks. And a few years ago, Florida passed a law that you cannot have any bait in the water when divers are present. But they forgot to tell the sharks, and they keep coming anytime they hear divers splash into the water. And this turtle's moving at a pretty good clip. Now this is a turtle that is being studied. They capture these turtles, and these are licensed people that do this. Well, this is Rick Bones, Underwater Explorer, and we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time.